Hello. A young anthropologist is on an Arctic expedition. His colleagues mock him, but this does not stop him from studying the Eskimos with great interest and immersing himself in their culture, language, and customs. He has no idea yet what an amazing find was brought to the station, and what discoveries about human nature and psyche await him ahead. In an Arctic cave, they discover a creature buried in ice, assuming it is a bear. The scientists prepare it for shipment. The helicopter carries the valuable find through the vast expanses of the Arctic, flying over mountains and crevices of the snowy wilderness. One of the scientists, a young anthropologist named Shepard, returns to the laboratory to examine the new object of study.
Hey, Shepard! You been out with the natives again?
Hey, even the Eskimos don't dress like that anymore.
Come on.
The station cracked jokes about the smell and lifestyle of the guy who looks more like the Eskimos he studies than a modern scientist. In the hallway, Shepard meets Mr. Whitman, who has come from Houston specifically to study the new finding. He compares it to another discovery made by the Russian expedition, a 400,000-year-old mammoth, which has been perfectly preserved. Its cells are being used to attempt to replicate the living creature by crossbreeding mammoth DNA with elephant DNA. The X-ray does not reliably show what is hidden under the layer of ice, so the excesses are cut off by the laser, one by one. Another scientist, Menard, suggests that it's not a bear, but a man inside. The ice tomb becomes thinner and thinner, revealing an arm and then a head of a fully preserved primal human body. Shepard analyzes the facial features and teeth and concludes that before them is an ancient hunter, a Neanderthal.
30
years?
Give or take 20,000.
Shepard objects to the suggestion from Dr. Brady and other scientists that the body be dissected into pieces for further analysis. A complete unfreezing of the body is planned as the next step. The anthropologists insist that they need to investigate the discovery site more thoroughly because there could be other people or even an entire village there. But the site manager assures them that they found everything that was there, and the ice could migrate thousands of kilometers in this time period. The Neanderthal, meanwhile, is already warmed up to above zero temperature. Doctors take up procedures and remove the savage's robes, finding the ancient hunter's personal belongings in it, amulets, and feather crafts. The blood transfusion procedure begins, and is successful. As the medics are taking a skin sample, the equipment suddenly shows unusual activity.
Holy sh! His cells are synthesizing DNA.
This is incredible.
A lot of substance is found in the human body, which can carry in itself a cryoprotectant, an antifreeze of sorts, which prevents crystallization and is contained in buttercup flowers. The mammoth, previously recalled by scientists, also fed on them. Scientists record brain activity, and Dr. Brady and his medical team hastily begin resuscitation to get the patient's breathing and heart going.
He's alive.
The primal man wakes up, growls, and begins to resist the procedures. The doctors try to restrain the patient and not hurt him at the same time, so Shepard removes his medical mask and suit to show a human face to the Neanderthal. This calms and distracts him, allowing them to inject sedatives. Scientists discuss the substance found in the body of the savage. This discovery is sure to win them a Nobel Prize. It could be used to significantly extend the lifespan of people and freeze the terminally ill until a cure is found. But Shepard opposes his dreaming colleagues.
There are too many people in the world right now. Death is nature's way of making room for someone else.
The team argues back that if scientists could have prolonged Einstein's life, he would surely have continued his theory, advancing science far ahead. Shepard objects that there have been other people with their own theories that have resulted in wars or terrible crimes against humanity. Moreover, such a procedure would be available only to the wealthiest, which would increase inequality and provoke conflicts. Brady replies that developments in this sphere are already being done, and progress is unstoppable. The anthropologist is outraged at the treatment of the discovered man as an impersonal individual and a source of biomaterial. If they treat him as a human being, they can better understand themselves. But if they let the Neanderthal wake up, medics will not be able to study him to find a way to freeze and unfreeze humans.
What, you want to find a chemical? Find out about the man.
Shepard insists that the savage cannot be kept asleep all the time, and therefore, it is necessary to create conditions for his maintenance that are close to his natural habitat. So the man from the past wakes up among rocks and grass. He finds berries and squeezes juice from them. There are animals nearby too. The Neanderthal makes fire and crafts tools, then proceeds to hunt and traps a wild boar. One day, he finds something unusual at the bottom of the pond, a hose with a gilded nozzle. The ancient man doesn't understand what it is and pulls the hose out, following it like a guiding thread, discovering the pipe and valves hidden under the grass, and then reaching the door as well.
Get that room on those bars! Get him back there! Get back!
The The man sees humans for the first time after thousands of years in the ice. This disturbs him, and he climbs high on the structures that provide climate and life support to the enclosure. Despite Shepard's protests, the savage is sedated with a rifle loaded with sleeping drugs before he can cripple himself in a fit of emotion. The Neanderthal is taken away by Dr. Brady's team to investigate the body's chemical process while asleep. Shepard doesn't want to let the ancient man go and says he needs more time. Later, Brady and Shepard have a conversation at a bar, where the guy offers to buy the girl a drink.
I want to see if I can unfreeze you. Check your vital signs. Bring you back to life.
He shows her a movie about aborigines. They jump over hot coals without burning the skin on their feet and pierce their skin with long needles, but their blood does not gush out. The guy suggests that human capabilities are not fully explored and that our internal body resources may be much greater than we think. What if the Iceman's body produced the substance that prevented cellular destruction on its own? And the clue lies in what rituals or actions he performed to achieve this. This hypothesis is worth testing, and Shepard goes out to meet the ancient hunter for the first time, instructing the others not to use weapons under any circumstances. The savage threatens the man and displays his strength by shouting and jumping like a monkey, but allows the man to get very close nonetheless. Shepard keeps his hands in full view and carefully looks deep into the Neanderthal man's eyes. But the man knows what he's doing and demands everyone to stay out of the way. The hunter puts the stone beside him and examines the scholar's teeth and hands. He gets interested in the boots and pants, after which he checks the sex of his guest. The Neanderthal performs a ritual of introduction and beats his chest while shouting his name. It sounds similar to Charlie. He himself also learns to pronounce Shepard's name as best he can. The scientist points to a drawing of scars on the savage's chests. It's a bird. Charlie too examines the scientist's chest and plucks from it the symbol of another god, a cross. He tries to say something, but so far Shepard cannot understand the ancient man. In the evening, all the scientists are in the recreation room, though many continue to discuss their work, while Shepard wants to look for a linguist to decipher Charlie's language. The medics discuss the fact that the previous freezing agent is difficult to study, because it evaporates as soon as it's removed from the body. Another professor, an expert in linguistics, arrives and is willing to observe the savage. Shepard continues to directly communicate with Charlie. The Neanderthal tears 2 buttons off his new friend's shirt and shows hospitality by offering the scientist his dinner, a bone.
He's as basic and direct as you, Maynard. Only he seems to have quite a vocabulary.
In the evening by the fire, Shepard starts humming a song out of boredom, which Charlie really likes, and asks him to continue. They end the day by singing and laughing together. Charlie continues to be examined by the medics. He is taken back to the operating table, and while Shepard protests beside him, the Neanderthal is given an injection and his body temperature is lowered so that his blood can produce cryopreservant again. But this time it doesn't work. The savage complains of chest pains after procedures and suspects Shepard of having injured him. Suddenly, he runs up to the man and puts a spear into his friend's hands.
No!
Charlie seems to be very unhappy in captivity and sees no reason to live. The anthropologist visits Dr. Brady and tells her that their interference disrupted his research. He convinces the girl to go into the enclosure with him to change Charlie's emotional state. The girl reasonably fears for her well-being, but they manage to listen to each other despite their disagreements and differences in approach. Charlie is drawing a bird on the ground with sand when Dr. Brady decides to enter the enclosure under Shepard's protection. She immediately complains about the smell. They make contact, and Charlie offers his lunch to the girl.
What was it?
It was a beetle. What did it taste like?
A beetle. I think I'm gonna throw up.
No.
The savage sniffs and touches the woman, but when it comes to a more detailed inspection, Shepard says she belongs to him, and Charlie is not allowed to have her. The men compete with each other by the loudness of their screams and the menacingness of their stares. Whereupon, the savage brings his most valuable possession, the gilded hose nozzle he found, to exchange it for the girl. But the anthropologist again rejects the distraught Neanderthal's offer. Charlie calms down and accepts the new guest. He draws a woman and 2 children on the ground, as if to talk about his family, and shows kids running around and playing. He asks the scientists where they might be. Suddenly their dialogue is interrupted by a helicopter flying directly over the enclosure. Savage hears and sees it through the glass. The unexplained phenomenon frightens and disturbs him, and Charlie rushes out in pursuit of the huge iron bird, shouting that exact word, bird. He's not interested in anything else, and the scientists have to leave the enclosure. Shepard turns for help to the local Eskimos, whom he catches performing ritual singing and dancing. He tries to learn from them about the words Charlie uses and his behavior with the helicopter. It turns out that the Eskimos have a legend about a bird, the messenger of gods, who will take you to heaven. But if you have done wrong in life, you will be judged for your sins. And Charlie, upon seeing the helicopter, fell into a trance. He tried to offer himself to the deity in exchange for the return of animals and his family. Now the helicopter is his god. Charlie performs various rituals for 24 hours without rest to attract the bird. He avoids contact and instead watches intently from his hiding place as Shepard opens the door at the exit from the enclosure. He tries to push the same buttons after the man and succeeds. While the scientists are away, the Neanderthal with a wooden spear in his hands makes his way into the observation room, hides from the men, and runs down the corridors. He is frightened by a mirror hanging on the wall and breaks it. A shard hurts his arm. Then he finds animals in cages, sliding glass doors, a printer, and an elevator. Eventually he enters the lab, where he smashes flasks of acid. Menard and his assistant enter the room, but do not see the savage, and leave after turning off the lights. Charlie finds himself in the dark and notices the light coming from the sky. He tries to break the window to get out, and Menard returns to the noise. The savage continues on his way unarmed when the alarm goes off and frightens him. He runs through the utility tunnels and finds himself outside, where he meets the cherished helicopter, which is prepared to land on the site. The savage tries to grab it, but gets hit in the head with the skids and passes out. He is hastily lifted up and carried inside. Charlie's bones and organs are thankfully intact, which is not the case with the wounded Menard. Shepard's supervisors refuse to write off the case as an accident, and Mr. Whitman draws a line under the dangerous experiment. Charlie's future is decided in any case, because he will not be able to live among humans. Shepard tries to protect his child, but his vote no longer bears any weight. The savage is prepared to be sent off to the station for further study, when the anthropologist asks Brady to help him finish what he started and give Charlie a chance to get to the helicopter god after all. He can't live in captivity. Shepard takes warm clothes with him and asks his colleagues to open the enclosure doors to get the Neanderthal outside. Together, the two of them head out into the Arctic wilderness. Charlie looks happy for the first time in a long while. From the station, every possible vehicle, snowmobiles and a helicopter, is sent in pursuit of the fugitives. They quickly discover the men's footprints. They, meanwhile, continue on their way, and Charlie leads the anthropologist forward despite the movement of icebergs and falling blocks of ice. A rift separates the men from each other, but Charlie doesn't turn back and keeps going. The helicopter finds him first. The savage stretches his arms upward towards the deity, and in a total frenzy, grabs the skids of the flying machine and soars into the icy Arctic air. The man who has risen from his icy grave and lost everything meets his end in the sky with a beautiful divine bird. As always, look for the movie title in the description of the video. Let us know your opinion in the comments. Which scientist was actually right? And if freezing technology will be developed in the future, would you agree to wake up in tens of thousands of years from now? Don't forget to click the like and subscribe buttons so that new fascinating retellings come out as often as possible.